Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brilliantly Sexy with Devina Kaur. And this is my first show of the year 2021. And Happy New Year to everybody. And today I am so honored that astrologer Raquel Spring is with us. She's all the way here from Sedona, Arizona. And Raquel has such a fascinating story. She used to be part of a cult in Brazil called the Children of God, and Raquel is also a survivor of cancer, and she is a fourth generational astrologer. And Raquel, thank you so much for honoring us and starting the year off on such a good note. We are so blessed to have you. So
Thank
please
you.
take it over and tell us a little bit about where you started your journey, a little bit about, overcoming cancer, but also the surviving and getting out of the cult. How did you do it? Please let us know.
Oh, wow. Hello, and thank you for having me in your show. I This is my first show of the year as well, my first interview. We were just talking about how this is our first one of the year, and there's definitely a lot happening astrologically, which I'm very excited to share with you and dive into as well. And yes, I'm originally from Brazil, and I was born and raised in a cult. Now, this was international in 180 countries of the world, and I was born there, so it was my world. It was just like growing up in a different planet, really. And of course, today I see that all of us, we all went through some sort of dysfunctional childhood or abusive situation with our families, and this is something that I feel like we all can relate to on some level. And my particular journey had me experience all those things inside of a cult, and we were very secluded from the rest of the world. So we lived in communities, and we had these interchange programs, I guess you could call it that, where we receive different members from different countries, and we had these rotational systems around it. So that's actually where I learned my English, even though Portuguese is my first language. um, and I've been here in the US for 5 years now. So growing up, this lifestyle was definitely very different for me. We focused a lot on preparing for the end of days. That was the main focus of the group. So we had a lot of very intense training and brainwashing as well, in regard to that. And so life growing up was very different, very intense, very much survival mode. And, you know, the good thing about that is that I was shielded in a lot of ways from the other programming here, from society. We weren't allowed to watch television, listen to music, read anything that was outside from the cult. So, in some ways, I was very brainwashed, but in other ways, I was very preserved. I like to say it that way. And I think that really helped me with the path that I had to take. That was a very big preparation for it. So, when I was 27, I left, and it was the most traumatic experience of my life up till date.
And Raquel,
Definitely very intense.
I want to ask you, when you say you left, what does that mean? Like, did you just pack your bags and leave? Did you have that liberty to do that?
Yes, we had the liberty, but because we were brainwashed, we for many years they would compile stories from people that left the cult, for example, just one small example, and only compile the ones that ended up in a very traumatic way. So they had a series of we'd call it letters at the time. There weren't computers, and they were called traumatic testimonies. So these traumatic testimonies would show us stories of people from inside the cult that ended up dying or taking their lives away, and just like really intense because they left the cult. So, we could leave, the doors were open, but we were just, nobody could talk to us, and it was really intense. Um, so my siblings, my brothers and sisters actually left way before I did. And I was, the eldest there trying to hold it together and be the strong one. So when I left, it was very different because my situation just happened to be that spirit needed me to leave. So it happened beyond my control. I didn't choose, and it was actually just a very private situation with my partner at the time, my boyfriend of 9.5 years. You know, we could only date inside the cult. So, and he left, and there was a big situation that happened around that. And basically, I was homeless. I was out of it was his parents' unit. And there was a rule that if in the cult that if you were out of one of the units for more than 30 days, you were excommunicated. You were out. So it was a process for me. That's just the condensed version of what happened. But it was a really, really, really intense experience, especially for someone that never had really been outside in the world and didn't know how to get around. So I was literally homeless, finding myself knocking around in strangers' doors for a place to sleep at night. I didn't know where to begin or what to do.
And all of this was still in the cult, or was it outside of the cult?
So this is how I left. You know, it was something that I was having with my partner at the time, and his parents had the unit and just did not let me go back. It was a huge situation because there was, you know, no reason for it. So much so that I talked to the leadership afterwards, and they were like apologizing for it, and it was a huge mess. But anyway, I was out. So, and I didn't have any money, any food, nowhere to begin. No relatives either, where I was in Rio at the time, Rio de Janeiro. But anyway, it was a really difficult year. It was my Saturn return, for those who know what that is. And you know, today I see that I had to leave. It was my time to move on. And otherwise, like, I was so programmed to stay in there, and that was what I needed to do, that if that wouldn't have happened, I don't know how much longer I would have stayed in there. So yes, a few years after, 3 years after leaving the cult, I found out I had cancer. And that was very devastating for me because it was one more like, what did I do to deserve this? That was my entire life story growing up in the cult. There was a lot of abuse, by the way. So it was my entire life of just suffering and rejection and pain and not understanding why human beings were the way they were. And especially after leaving the cult, for me, it was like this big aha moment of, wow, I grew up 27 years of my life hearing that this is it. Like, this is the truth. This is the way. This is, with such adamant, you know, zest, that when I left, I started hearing that same context within other cults and groups and spiritual, and, you know, and I was just like, wait a minute. Why does everyone think they're the ones? What's going on here? So that began a quest for me, which actually began inside the cult when I wanted to understand human behavior, because I didn't understand why people were so mean and cruel to me, why I suffered so much. So inside the cult, I began secret studies, because we weren't allowed to do this in the cult, just about human behavior, human personality, psychology. I got into everything you could imagine. So by the time I had cancer, I was devastated. I was like, well, what else? Might as well go. Like, I don't understand what's the meaning of all of this, right? But I was in a situation where I was completely alone, and even without my family, and it was really difficult for me to go through that. And like, okay, well, what does that mean? I'm gonna die? I'm gonna die alone? Like, what is that? You know? So that actually was the very beginning stages for me. This was in 2013, and this is when my real journey with self-love began, because I was left with nothing, knowing that just like that my life could be gone, and I was at the brink of life and death in a way, with nobody there. And it hit me, and I realized that all the people in my past that had hurt me and abused me and mistreated me in some way, you know, it wasn't about forgiving them as much as it was about giving myself permission to be free from having to carry the burden of those memories every day. It was every day that I carried so much pain in me from all the abuse and the injustice that I had received. And, since a child. So when I realized that I'm here with this illness and nobody knows about it, and all the people that hurt me and did all those things to me, like, they're carrying on with their lives. I don't know where they are. But I'm still here left with the illness. And understanding that the illness came from carrying that pain every day in my body. So it's not like I was wrong for carrying that. It was just a moment of realization. And that moment of realization was very profound because it was the first step into taking responsibility for creating my life from that point forward. And I knew that the only way to create my life was to understand this principle and understand the principle of forgiveness, which was really letting go of the burden, the cross, the need to carry those memories. Whatever happened, if for whatever reason, I'd figure it out one day I would get explanations from God or whatever, but I had to let go of that dense energy, the memories, right? So long story short, I know it's a very intense go through.
It's like I'm listening to this and I'm like, I can't believe this happens and it continues to happen, and that we're so grateful that you're here sharing your wisdom with us. So I'm so proud of you, Raquel, for just getting through this. Just so you know.
Thank you. It was the beginning of the most powerful transformation that was just the starting point back then, and it's continue evolving every day. Every day more and more. So soon after, in 2015, I came into astrology. It was 2 years later. And to me, when I came into astrology, it was just one more modality that I was coming across. I had literally studied everything you could imagine. And, astrology was one of those to-do things that I would one day get to. But when I got into astrology, I had a very profound, intimate experience with it, in the sense that throughout all of my studies for all of those years, I realized that there was no other system that I had come across. I had come across so many systems that were fascinating, but I had never come across a system that could dive so deeply into all aspects of the human journey, which is the physical, the emotional, the psychological, and the spiritual, all together. And when I started to see that what astrology was showing about my chart, and the way that I felt like so seen and understood, and like, oh my gosh, wow, there are things that I didn't even know about myself. And it was such a profound experience that I decided to go deeper with it and maybe even specialize in it. Well, when I decided that, it was only a week later, my father walked in one day where I was staying at, saw a chart up on the screen, and he's like, "What's that?" And I was concerned for a moment because, growing up in the cult with my father, he still had a lot of like those beliefs and regimented. And I'm like, "Well, Dad, it's astrology." And he stops for a minute and he says, "Did I ever tell you that we come from a long lineage of Masons and astrologers?" I'm like, whoa, Dad, wait a minute. What?
Wow.
So that's how I found out. This wasn't revealed to me up until then because I was in the cult and we didn't have much information of anything from outside the cult. But when my dad told me that, I was like, tell me everything you know. And that actually just motivated me to start diving deeper, knowing that it's in my lineage and my blood, and who knows, past lives as well, maybe working with this. So even though I only began in 2015, I learned very fast and had many experiences at night, every night for almost a year and a half, every night, where I was taken and in different places and I was learning astrology through the cosmos, through teachers, through experiences.
Like download, like cosmic download.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, fascinating,
So
Raquel.
yeah.
So you know what, Raquel, that's so fascinating, and you know, as there's this is a live show, so there's so many people who are watching this, and I'm gonna encourage everybody to tell us, do you know anybody who, um, you know, has this experience with living in a cult and then escaping or getting out? Please let us know in the comments, because this is what it's all about. It's about learning together. We all come from different unique experiences, and not no two experiences
Yeah.
are alike. And this is where it's important that we listen to every perspective that there is,
Yeah.
whether that's astrology or you know, even alternate medication or whatever it is. And I know, in fact, I want to show something. And Raquel, if you permit me, yesterday I did a poll on my LinkedIn, and I asked everybody, what do you think about astrology? If Is that okay if I show it, Raquel?
Absolutely. I'm curious.
Yeah. So I'm
And
just
by
gonna
the way, while you pull that up, I wanna just what you were saying is very powerful. When I left the cult and started to share my story,
yeah.
I was surprised. I was amazed at how many people started to come to me. Me too, me too, me too. Oh my God, I was a part of a cult. I had an experience. It was incredible. There's so many people out there that have had similar experiences. So
Oh, wow.
totally feel you, because I think the main thing with it is the guilt that we carry after
Mm-hmm,
that heaviness of you know having to live that certain life and just everything that it entails, and the intense, almost like a communist style that is just imposed on us in every day. So it's very much of a it's an intense experience to get out of that, because just because you're out
yeah.
of it physically, it doesn't mean that you're out of it emotionally and psychologically. And as a matter of fact, there were numerous cases within the young people from our cult that just couldn't handle it and took their life, or got really deeply into drugs and just other things, and until today are still very much struggling with this aspect of what it entails. So yeah, just wanted to.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you, Raquel. It's never easy to get through this darkness, and especially the unknown, especially as a woman, you know, being alone. It's so hard. I've done it too. I mean, not from a cult, but I'm born and raised in India, and I know many of us who are here have had that experience of constantly unlearning where they come from. And Raquel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to, I know you have a very powerful story, and we want to talk about this more, but maybe we can talk about this in another show, that living that cult and getting out of it. And I know that's going to be very helpful to many people. And today we really want to focus on astrology.
Let's dive in. I know people are curious to hear about 2021.
Yeah. I mean, and I've watched so many of your videos, and you know, I'm a big fan of your work. And
Wow.
yeah, and I encourage everybody to check out raquelspring.com, as well as follow Raquel on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. She has a Facebook group as well. So Raquel, let's get started with the forecast of 2021. And you know, we will come back to the living in a cult and escaping from this, and surviving cancer as well. You've got such a powerful story, Raquel. So
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so tell us.
Davina, I'm gonna just open this up here with actually where you left off.
Right.
The poll. I think it's an interesting thing to hear people's perspectives and experiences with astrology. I always like to start my astrology talks with a little introduction,
Yes.
explaining what astrology is. And are you pulling that up there on the screen?
Yeah. I just did can you guys see this, the screen? It says, so my question was, do you believe astrology helps us to understand the world better? Sorry. It's still early in the morning.
It is.
So the question is, do you believe astrology helps us to understand the world better? So I got 26% said yes, 38% said no, and then 36% said life doesn't matter either way. So this is on LinkedIn. You guys can see it. You guys can vote for it, and in fact, I encourage everybody to please vote for it so we can change the numbers a little bit, okay? because astrology for me is really important, and I grew up in a family that does not believe in astrology. My father is strictly against it. The religion that I grew up in, we don't encourage astrology. So it's really interesting that we're having this discussion, and 20 years later, I believe in astrology. I look at my charts and I follow my charts.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Devina, it's interesting because in the beginning when I started working with astrology, I would get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't believe in astrology," and that type of comments. And in the beginning, I would be like, "What do you mean? You don't even know what it is. How can he say that? Like, it's not even a belief. Like, how can he say I believe? It's not a belief. It's a system. You either understand it or you don't." And I would kind of be like, what's wrong with people? But as time went on, I really began to appreciate other people's perspectives on it, and really understand that everybody has different connections with different modalities and systems and ways of connecting to themselves and the world around them. So, I love to hear people's opinion, whether, they have an experience with astrology or not. But I do want to share as an astrologer that, my introduction here that I like to give is that astrology, I feel that astrology for many years, as it was being revived, it was very much being explored in the context of, I call it mainstream astrology, which is more of the context of prediction and what's going to happen in my week type of thing. And whereas astrology can definitely help you see cycles ahead, I mean, I've been doing this, flawlessly for many years now, hundreds of charts that I've worked with. There are ways to map cycles and look at certain things that are lining up, these open doors and opportunities. But it doesn't work. Astrology doesn't work the way that most mainstream sources show it to be. Like, oh, if I'm a Sagittarius sun, then this is what's going to happen in your day or in your week or in your month. And, I see that again. In the beginning, I was like, oh, why are they doing that? They're discrediting astrology. How dare. I was like my feisty side wanting to come out. But, I understand today that this needed to come out. It's a huge, intricate system that's been around for thousands of years, and rightfully so. It's been used flawlessly for thousands of years with, even presidents here. Presidents of this country have had personal astrologers, it's incredible. And, there's a really cool saying that says, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. I think I love it. And because people that know, they know. So anyway, this is not about me trying to convince anyone or push my experience with astrology onto someone else. This is just to explain that astrology is a lot more than what has been portrayed. So, I feel that astrology had to get into the mainstream just so we could start to have an idea of what it is and what are signs and what are, but now we're at a stage where we're ready to understand more in general about ourselves, about life. So astrology is one of the themes that is very quickly rising to people's awareness. I personally have, hundreds of students in my classroom that I teach. I've been having an online school for over a year now. It's been a year and 2 months. And we get together twice a month to learn new things. And my students are just transformed by understanding the system of astrology and not having to rely on a horoscope or rely on a computer generated cookbook style thing that doesn't really, paint the whole picture, but they're empowered to themselves go in there and extract the message that it's showing them.
So, and astrology is another way of getting to know yourself, right?
Yes.
So this is, it's important that we don't have to. And I mean, I study astrology a little bit, like, but um, again, I'm born and raised in India, so we have a different system of astrology than the Western system is completely different. And that's why I find it so fascinating that there's so much information. And even after, and Raquel, you can tell us about this, even after studying for 20 years, you still don't know anything.
No. Oh my gosh, it's so humbling. This is the beautiful thing. This is like, I was just on my last class with my students on Saturday. I was telling them, like, when you look at a chart, there is a level of humility that you are just, wow, you just want to listen. You don't even want to start trying to interpret it because it's such a profound experience, And, Devina, what you said was exactly what I was going to say next, because your question was really good. It was about understanding the world through astrology. And I will tell you that astrology to me is ultimately primarily about understanding yourself. And once you do, then you can venture out and look at the hologram out there, the world, because this is what we are creating. This is all of our patterns, and this is the most powerful thing about astrology, is that when you really, really understand what the chart is showing, there's no way that you cannot take responsibility for where you're at. The good, the bad, the ugly, like, you just take responsibility for it because you're like, all right, it is what it is. Okay. There's no way to make this up. Right. And so when you start to work with this, you start to gain a certain level of empowerment over your experiences, not just because you know what's going to happen in your week. That also comes in as a bonus, but more than that, you're responsible for everything. You know it's going to happen. Not just the good, but also the challenges. But then that they're coming for a reason. So you start to work with it. Yes. And so this is what's happening to our world right now, Devina, is that we are at a very crucial point collectively. Okay. And I'm taking this collectively now. Ultimately, astrology is a very personal reflection.
Yeah. And maybe we can, because there's a lot of people watching from all over the world, and everybody's at a different journey of astrology. So we're going to keep this chat today very basic, so that everybody gets it. And then, of course, we're going to go into detail as well. And maybe, Raquel, as you're talking, I'm having this idea that maybe we should be doing this once a month, kind of a thing. So details to follow, okay?
I am so busy right now, but I would love to do this more with you. Definitely, let's do another show.
Yeah. So, before my ADD brain takes off.
Yes. There's definitely a lot to
our show and say. So, what do you mean by there's so much happening in the world right now, Raquel?
Okay, so I don't think we need, to dive so deeply in the fact that, like, 2020 was a year of transformation, no doubt. We don't even have to go there, like, it's obvious. Now, as an astrologer, I saw this coming, at least a year before. At the time I was in Guatemala, it was around August, September, when I first started to look at the chart for 2020, preparing for what's to come. And when I saw the chart, I was like, I couldn't even sleep at night. When I saw 2020, I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. I was like, what do I tell people? What's going on? So,
what a crazy year we've had, right?
Yes. And so on some level, I knew that we were preparing for something big. And so did all other astrologers. We had some very historic configurations, alignments in the beginning of the year, throughout the eclipses, and especially at the end of the year as well. So those were all mapped out, just the same that all these alignments is just basically tracking celestial bodies and their influence on us, the same way that the moon it's already a known fact, right? That the cycles of the moon has an effect on the human emotion, the human psyche, and so forth. All the planets, they also have this interaction with us and correspond to different parts of our experience, our behavior, personality, same way the moon does. So these alignments, they were very, very rare to happen in the way that they did and the order they did. And, it's all about cycles and greater cycles that are playing out. So, and the cycles are nothing more, because I don't want you to feel disempowered by this, like, oh my God, I'm at the mercy of the cycles. The cycles are nothing more than the matrix, the structure that we've created so that we can have this experience. It's an experience of evolution, whether we like to admit it or not. You know, we can call these lessons growth. I mean, I call it evolution. So to me, this is not about good or bad. It's about evolution, because in the greater scope of things, this is what the universe is concerned with: growth, expansion, knowing itself, evolution.
Transformation.
So 2020 was the year where we had, and I started calling it the year of transformation, the year of transition. Sorry. This is the year of transition. And I even made a video in December of 2019 talking about that. And the name of my video was The Astrology for 2020.
I remember that video, yes.
What was it called again? Was it called Chaos or... Oh, I don't remember now, but it was something like Chaos or Freedom or something like that. And I was like, this is pretty bold to put it out there, but next month, bam, February next month. And then when COVID hit, I was like, people were calling me. I was, you know, because I'm an astrologer. Raquel, is this going to go away soon? The news were like, stock up in food for 2 weeks. You know, schools are closed for 2 weeks. I would get on the phone. I'd be like, no, guys, at least a year. You want to stock up at least a year. This is not going to lighten up until March of 2021. So, and people are like, no way, how can this be? Like, this is insane. I'm like, hold your horses, hold your energy. We still have the end of the year to come. The end of the year is very intense. And, you know, here we are. So what I do with my work in astrology is, the main thing that I do is I help to give people perspective. I help give them guidance through the greater meaning of the cycles that we're going through. Because we go through these cycles. You know, for example, one cycle here that I want to talk about is Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn in the sky, they have their movement, and this is not anything that we can control. This is just part of their journey. And in their cycles, they come together in what we call a conjunction every 20 years. Now, that's not a super big deal. It's part of a cycle. But when they do, this over here has an influence and impact in our social, political, and financial developments. So these are little mini resets, and ever since World War II, we've had mini resets and recessions that were marked by either the conjunction or the opposition of Jupiter and Saturn. So this is just a small example of how the planets have these, they're kind of like these tickers that bring in certain cycles into our experience. Again, these cycles are part of the matrix that allows us to have this journey of growth and evolution. So, okay, every 20 years they come together and it impacts in some way. We have these little resets that then push us into a new solution, a new way of operating, a new way of discovering ourselves. So the big deal about Jupiter and Saturn's cycle here is that with 2020 and all of the crazy, incredible alignments that we were having throughout the year, which I've been talking about in all my videos and all that, as if that's not enough, we culminated the year with this incredible lineup that we've been calling the Grand Conjunction. Now, the Grand Conjunction is one more of these Jupiter and Saturn coming together. And in and of itself, it's already significant because they're coming together, you know, okay, every 20 years, but they're coming together right at the culminating point where it seems like our entire structure is falling apart. So they're coming in to really emphasize that beginning of a new cycle. But the most significant thing about Jupiter and Saturn that just came together right now, hours before the solstice, by the way.
Yeah, on the 21st of December, 2020.
Yes, that was their official conjunction. And I mean, not only were they conjunct, but they were also parallel, which is also rare, and it just makes us stronger. But the key thing here is that they officially initiated their conjunction in the element of air. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, the last time they were in conjuncting in signs of air was in the early 1200s. Okay?
Early 1200s, so 800 years ago?
That's a long time. And they've been conjuncting up until now. They've been conjuncting in the element of earth. And this pattern began, this cycle, so this belongs to a much greater cycle. Okay, I love to work with astrology in the context of cycles, because then it gives us greater meaning and perspective as opposed to just looking at our day or our week, right? So when we look at these bigger cycles, we're like, oh, I get it. So the Saturn and Jupiter, the two planets of social and financial and political developments, they've been conjuncting in the element of earth since the early 1800s, which is when the industrial age began, the Industrial Revolution. So look how perfect the timing with the cycles, because now every time they have these little mini resets, they're doing it under the context of earth. So along with these resets, they come with the influence of earth, which has been all the heavy machines, right? The industrial age, the petroleum and other fossil fuels that we've been using, like a lot of material, and even paper money.
Yeah, and also like the harm that we desecrate. How do we desecrate Mother Earth, right? So is that?
Yes, like exploiting. Yeah, good point. Good point, Devina. Good point. I hadn't really thought of that one before, but you're right, because all these petroleum and fossil fuels and, coal and all these things, we're extracting it from the earth. Now, of course, were also many positive things about it, and just the way that we had to go through this transition as a species. It's part of the evolutionary process. So it was perfect. But what's happening now is that we've come to a point where we've reached a maximum point of growth with that cycle, and now we're ready for more. So a little parenthesis here is that in the meantime, there are many of us that are starting to realize, what we're doing to the planet, our bodies, and we're looking for healthier ways of living, of conducting our lives, of raising our children. Isn't that right? So to some extent, we've all been calling on this. We've all been collectively ushering in this new age. So now as we come to this culminating point where we had the grand conjunction happen in the element of air, this is introducing to the planet a whole new way of looking and living from this point forward. And Jupiter and Saturn, from now on, they're going to continue their conjunctions. They're every 20 years in the air signs, which are Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. And this is going to happen for the next 2,200 years.
Wow.
So that's the enormity of the cycle that we just ushered in.
Yeah, and then, so there's four elements, right? Air, water, earth, and fire.
Yes.
And then so we're in air, and I want everybody who's here to tell me about which element they are in. Are you an air? I'm a water sign because I'm a Scorpio. Well, that's my sun sign. And so I want to know from everybody who's here, what sun sign are you? And then maybe Raquel can come back and talk a little bit about that later on.
It's interesting because I've been doing like all of my readings and all of my sessions with my students have been revolving around this conjunction because it's such a big deal. So this conjunction is actually happening at 0 degrees Aquarius. So to add, and we're going to talk about that, but to add what you're saying, this conjunction is influencing everybody in some way or another. It just depends on all the alignments of your chart. But the people that have placements, so yes, your sun is one of them, but we also have the moon, we have the ascendant, and all the other planets as well. So any placements that you have in the signs of air are very powerfully getting activated, in a good way. for this, because these are people that are helping to usher in the new cycle in some way. And a lot of it is very social based too. It's very much about renovating the way that we conduct ourselves in society. And the political system is coming undone, as we can see. Why? Because we're transitioning into a new era. So the people that have placements in the air signs, which are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, especially in the beginning, I know that's getting a little more intricate, but the signs, they're divided from 0 to 29 degrees. So if it's in the beginning, your placements, this is so much power. There are other placements too, but this is a really good one too for your viewers to keep an eye out for.
Wow. So Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. So yes. I want to know from our audience, what sun sign are you? Which month are you born in? You can put the date as well, and Raquel will go into that. And I know there's a lot of questions coming in that I'm a Capricorn, so what's my sign, for example?
So this is the thing. Astrology is very intricate, and just by knowing your sun sign or your ascendant, I only have a little tiny bit of the picture, and I don't know what it means for you without looking at your chart.
Okay, so good point.
Yes, I know that we've been having a lot of activity in Capricorn, especially the end of Capricorn, where there's been a lot of the intensity of the coming undone of the old foundations. So collectively for the world, it's been coming from Capricorn. So people that have like a sun in Capricorn, especially if it's at the end of Capricorn, aligned with these big planets that we've been having in 2020, these are people that have been going through incredible transformations. Wow. And yes, the good news is that now most of the activity is starting to, well, we still have January, left here with some planets in there, but we're going to start easing up on the Capricorn zone. So people that have their suns in Capricorn and planets in Capricorn are going to start getting a little bit more of a relief here. Okay.
Oh my goodness, there's just so much. And you know what? Obviously, one video chat is not enough for this, because there's just so much to discover. And then, of course, there is Pluto, as you've been talking about it, Raquel, because I follow you on your videos, is a big planet that's influencing us as well.
Yes, Pluto is the main one in Capricorn that has been transforming.
Yeah. So lots going on. But do you want to share a little bit about what to expect in the months of January and February, perhaps?
Perfect question, because these are the most intense, this is where it really is all kind of heading into, and so I want to first of all say that, of course, as an astrologer, when people see me, even here in Sedona, they're like, first thing they want to know is like, what's happening? When is this going to end? So I know.
Now, we all want to know when this is going to end. Who is out of this lockdown? My goodness, and this is interesting because different parts of the world are going through different kinds of lockdowns. My parents live in India, and they don't currently have a semi-lockdown, but there's a huge, massive farmers' protest going on that's shaking the whole country. It's shaking the whole world. And then I'm in Canada, and we have a very strict lockdown where schools are still closed. And I know the UK has another lockdown. In America, different states have different kinds of lockdown. So there's a lot going on. But Raquel, please tell us that we're going to have some hope, because I know that my audience wants to know, our audience wants to know. Please tell us that this is going to be all over soon.
What's the responsibility of the astrologer?
Please give us a yay.
Give us good news. Well, for me, working with astrology, like everything's good news because I see the bigger picture and what's happening here. And I want to tell you that, astrology is not black and white. There is no system on this planet that can tell you for sure what's going to happen, because it doesn't even exist within the context of our reality. We don't have a definite outcome. We have probabilities, and we definitely have probabilities that can become higher probabilities at any given moment in time. It's very malleable, you know. However, these probabilities, they have to fit the context of the greater cycles. So it's like, you know, I can't expect to be the president of, you know, Australia if I wasn't born there. I was born in Brazil. So there's just certain things that, you know, we have the context of cycles so that we can then create our experiences within them. So the greater cycle here, to give us a little perspective, is that we're evolving. And we are just starting.
I
We
love
are
that.
just starting. This is going to be 2,000 years. So we are just beginning this transition here. And in this transition, there is a phase where our eyes are opening up to things. Now, this is a very individual process above and foremost, but it's also being reflected outside. And January and February are the culminating months where we see these truths come out, these greater truths. And a lot of these truths, they can leave us feeling very upset and angry. And I understand what that's like, because even growing up in the cult, I was just so upset and angry at, like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, why am I receiving so much abuse and so much, you know, what did I do? I was just born a child and doing my best here trying to follow these rules. And I understand what it's like to hold, you know, all these injustices that are done to you and be like feeling helpless. And on a collective level, that's even bigger, especially when we have things like war and other things that could be probabilities. But on the other hand, we are being given an opportunity to take responsibility, the same way that I shared with my cancer, and really be like, okay, these people did this, that political system did that, okay, whatever. But what can we do today? How can we roll up our sleeves today, start making choices today that are going to start empowering us, and not be so complacent with just things in life that we used to be so distracted by before. And now the cycle is about coming together. You know, there's a big focus in the sign of Gemini with the North Node over there right now. It's another topic. But this is bringing together new leaders into the picture. And these new leaders can only come to be when there is a need for new solutions.
Oh, beautifully said. Wow.
And so we're collectively preparing. So I've been talking about the concept of new leadership since May of 2020, because that's when we began that bigger cycle. And this is going to be a cycle that's going to be active until January 2022, a year. So I've been paving the way and introducing this concept, but in 2021, we're going to see it full blown. We're going to see a lot of new leaders come in and want to express themselves through media, through the new educational systems, new financial systems, just new ways of operating society. And these are going to come from this aspect that I've been calling 2021. There's going to be a social revolution. And a lot of the social revolution is starting with looking at what doesn't work today. So we're having a lot of that like revealed to us, you know, and personally as well. I work with people counseling through astrology, and I hear this so much. People that are having to come to terms with things that can no longer be denied about their family, things that used to be secrets, and now it's just everything is coming out in the open. And the contrast is greater than ever. So this is where, when everything is exposed, you have the option to either have even a bigger heart opening through it, and then take the next steps toward evolution, finding solutions, or you can hold on to that and you can stay there, you know, why me, while the cycles keep going. So this is an opportunity that we're having to take our power. And these cycles are introducing this to us. They're saying, hey, do you want to see more now? If you see more, then you can also create more. You're entitled to more. So that's what's happening. We're seeing more, and then we're going to be taking more responsibility as a consequence. New leaders are emerging, new ways of doing things, you know, new ways of performing Reiki, energy services, meditation, yoga. All these things are going to upgrade.
Yeah, well, we never thought about doing online yoga a year from a year earlier. Now all of a sudden we're all like doing online yoga.
We're having to innovate. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having to innovate, and this
But
is what
even
we're
that is serving its purpose.
yeah, and and so we're grateful to have technology. Yet, we must never forget that people are. It's all about a community, an in-person community, right, Raquel? So
Mhm. In person, and this is a big focus for this year, is we're going to be finding new ways to connect. This is where the big leaders are going to have to step down from their pedestals and join the circle, roll up their sleeves. And this is about seeing that together we're stronger. We've been
yes,
divided, yeah, and together we're stronger. And so there's a lot of new heart connections that are being formed through
mhm,
all of this intensity. There are new understandings, and we're being able to connect with people that are better aligned with our blueprint, our paths, what we can do to innovate and create from this point forward. And Aquarius is a sign of innovation.
mm,
Aquarius is a sign of, we're going to see technology in 2021, new technology be introduced. And
wow.
it's just going to be the beginning, because we're in, yeah, that
And
whole Aquarius energy.
yeah, and as you're talking, I'm getting these chills across my body. I'm like, oh my God, what is to come?
So January and February are the months where astrologically, this is a lot of the intensity is coming up here now. And there's no running away from it. There are things that we can do to stay in our hearts and stay in the still point. But when we get out of our house, like we'll see it, we'll notice it. And we have to remember that people are realizing things, truths are coming up. And we have to let everybody make their choices and their decisions, respecting that, without trying to convince or change or impose. It's not about that. This is about us taking responsibility for our part and just observing, listening, letting everybody take their choices here. Okay. And so January and February is very much the time where we're going to have a lot of the speeding up of all of this. So basically, the speeding up means that we're going to come into a threshold in spring. And astrologically, we cross this much needed threshold, and the energies calm down significantly. Now, of course, the direction this depends a lot on people's choices. Of course, astrology gives us clues, but I want to tell you that from that point on, there's going to be a big focus on the leadership coming up and stepping in. This is all the way from you, Devina, having your circle of people, and you're going to be helping guide them through what's next now. Now that, okay, whew, we did it. We went through this. Now what's next? All the way to big government leaders. Like, a lot is changing. There's a lot of power that is shifting right now. We're figuring all that out. So January and February are the culmination where we just have to let that play out. And we have to wait for that physical, external, manifestation of all of it to come to be. On an individual level, on a deeper level, I will tell you that there is a part within us that I like to call it the righteous rage. This part belongs to Black Moon Lilith. This is a very powerful, key point in astrology that I've been talking a lot about. And without getting too deeply into it, she's very active right now. And she's going to be very active for the last 2 weeks of January. So
wow.
the last 2 weeks of January is when we're going to start to see a lot of the momentum. Ugh. Now, individually, and I'm about to share a post on this as well on my social media and my newsletter, individually, there is a lot of themes related to money, values, sex, and relationships that are coming to the fore with this aspect of righteous rage. So there's going to be, a lot of relationships, and particularly it's in the sign of Taurus. So there could be a lot of women out there that are feeling this. Something needs to be liberated. Something needs to burst, be expressed. At the core of all of this is our true voice wanting to be given birth or rebirth. you know, and a new level of freedom of expression. So until we understand that, there's a lot of like what could seem like repressed anger and something that wants to just, I need to be free. I need to be free to speak, free to do my thing. And we may see this expressed within relationships and sex and figuring out our values moving forward. So collectively, we can see this play out. We're going to, you know, probably see this play out in the economy somehow. Now, don't worry, I don't think we're going to go back to that recession that we've had. Like we're at a point now where we've been preparing for this transition. But you know, individually, this is very important for us to take responsibility for our part in it. And I want to reassure you that this is a phase, especially January and February, where a lot of us are making peace with parts of ourselves that we have been taught are wrong, or like the darker aspects that are usually kept repressed or in the shadows. So this is bursting forth right now, and we're figuring out what that means and how that it's part of me. It's part of my emotions. It's part of my personality. Yeah. Eventually, this is leading you to have a bigger voice in your leadership expression. So it's all good. Stay open.
Yeah. You know what? This is interesting because I find myself, I try to walk the neutral path because, you know, there is no right or wrong, right? Everything in the spiritual world anyway. Yet I find myself angry. I find myself frustrated. And I'm like, so then I find myself going more and more into meditation. If I was meditating for 1 hour before, now I'm meditating for like 4 hours because I find like I'm going to lose it.
Yes. Right? Yes. So yes. Well, that's the other aspect of it, is that we are really having to grow up as well, in the sense of, you know, what is our responsibility with our true awareness of who we are and what we're doing here. Like, we're seeing that this is much more than just us having a job and a title and paying our bills. We're starting to see that there's a lot more going on here. So these moments of stress and intensity are definitely pulling us to, I can't survive if I don't come back to this still place, you know? But on the other hand, there is something to be said about that coming up, and that those emotions wanting to speak to you, because a lot of these are ready to be heard, and heard under a mature light now. So we're learning how to listen to everything that we're holding inside, all of the emotions, and getting to the bottom of it. Because before it was easy to distract. Oh, let's go to the movie theater. Let's go, you know, let's go out to the restaurant. Let's go to party. Now those distractions are removed from us, and we're left like, boom, just ourselves and our emotions. And it's difficult, you know, but once we just stay with it and stay with it, they start to show us things that are a part of ourselves. And so when we start to open up to this without resistance, like, that's why meditation is such a perfect way to be aware of these energies and sit with these energies. This is when we start to look at it from the greater perspective and start to find the solutions and the reasons for all of it. You know, maybe it is time for you to make a big decision and move, and, you know, maybe, you know, go to another country or start a new job. And maybe that moment of crisis isn't really a moment of crisis as much as it is an opportunity for evolution for you.
I love how you're saying that, you know, you said this earlier as well, that as an astrologer, you look at every evolution as good news, right? So, yeah. So even with everything, even with this anger that comes up, or this need to question, this need to fight, like, I want to go outside and protest. I want to, you know, like, I want my throat chakra is opening, and I'm like, I just want to, you know, and then I have to remind myself, you know, like righteous anger, as you said,
like rage, yeah. You know, honey, I appreciate everybody's role in this transition. And while I personally am not definitely the type of person that would go there and start marching in the streets and like demanding certain things, I know that the transition would not happen without that. So even the people that are a part of asking for, you know, awareness and responsibility from the government and all of it, you know, I have many close friends that are involved in these things, and, you know, we talk, and I'm not, it's not my style, you know, I participate from another perspective, but they're just as important. Like, we're all doing this together.
Yeah.
What I do want to add here, though, is what I tell my friends is, remember, as you're there, as you're doing it, it's okay to feel the rage and all the injustice and everything, but remember, let it be the righteous rage, not the separation and competition that leaves you feeling more stressed. This is the righteous rage that knows it's time to change and is grateful for the opportunity, because we're paving the way for a new world for our children. So it's a very fine line here. And I told my friends, like, if you feel that if you get out there, you're going to get yourself worked up, which is most likely what's going to happen, because it's a collective energy there of anger, and, be careful, because that's going to stay with you. Then you go back home and then you carry that in your body, and pretty soon we know what happens. Raquel Spring knows what happens when you carry stuff in your body.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially overcoming cancer and everything. And
Yeah.
I read something very interesting, or I watched, Magenta Pixie said something very interesting. And she said, we're all cogs of the wheel. So every individual is playing out their role in this matrix.
Yes.
Right? Like, this is all predetermined. I mean, we do have free will to make some choices, as you use the word free will very often, Raquel. So, and that's where it comes in. Like, even with all of this that's happening outside, we can still find happiness and joy and connection with ourselves. And
well, that's what it's all about. It's about realizing that it's not about the external as much as it is about the internal.
Oh, beautifully said, Raquel. Beautifully said. And
then we reflect, right? Then we manifest. Then we have the mirror on the outside. But yes, please continue.
So, no, I mean, it's true. I mean, please go ahead with just finishing your thoughts on how to prepare for the next January, especially, and February again. And then we do have some audience questions that I'm going to share as well.
Okay, yes. I've been saying already for a year now that the best way to prepare for 2020 and, until spring is very much staying centered. And this means choosing consciously the activities, the people, the foods you put in your body that are in alignment with that state of being. If you want stillness, then, don't go hang out with people that are, in that, still sorting out that righteous rage, So this is about choosing purposely. And of course, there are going to be moments like, I have some, things that I found out that I have to go resolve with the bank. And of course, we're all caught up in this. I have my moments too. And I just found out I have $5,000 from my bank missing. I'm like, wow, So this is about navigating this insanity, this madness, by staying in the eye of the hurricane. So you're not denying it. You're not like, oh, it's all love and light, it's all good. I'm not feeling it because I've risen above. Like, yeah, I feel it very much when I got in the world. And trust me, when those feelings come, I embrace my righteous rage. It doesn't mean I'm going to hurt someone or badmouth them and externalize it, but I own it. I'm feeling it. And when I do that, I process it quicker. Instead of holding it and being like, it's not good, I will feel it. I will dance it out. I will cry it out. Sometimes I will yell it out. I will go up in the mountains of Sedona and hiking and something to just feel it in my body and express it in whatever way I need to. But then I need my moments alone. I need to choose what I'm going to watch, what I'm going to feed my body. I notice a difference. How can I cope with these events that come? Is really, really very much related to how I start my mornings. What are the first things that I put into my body? I drink a liter of water at least before putting anything else in my body, before putting coffee or even tea, for example. And I notice that I can deal with the day a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more in my center.
And I talk about water quite a bit, actually. And as many of you know, I drink blue solar water. And we did a video about this last week or 2 weeks ago with Dr. Chanel. So make sure that you check that out. Sorry, Raquel. I mean,
Water is everything. Water is
is everything.
everything. You know, we are, this is the beauty. We're discovering so much more, and we are water beings. We are water beings. We're not coffee beings. We're not even food beings. We're water beings. So this is, water is everything. It's everything. So, you know, a lot of times staying at home a lot, you know, especially due to COVID and everything, in the beginning, it was difficult for me. I was always hungry because you're at home, right? And you're like, what are you going to do? It's just food, right? And I got to a point where I was like, I can't put any more food in my butt. I want to keep eating, but it just doesn't fit. And it's like, holy wow, this is crazy. I can't keep doing this, you know? So obviously, I think we all kind of went through our phase of like adjusting to this. But I'm realizing that a lot of times where I feel hungry, you know, I started doing something where I'm like, Raquel, before going into the kitchen and putting something in your mouth, when you feel hungry, before, just try water. Try water and see if it helps. And I'll tell you, most of the times, it's not hunger. It's not hunger that I have. And the water is like, oh my God, it feels amazing. I feel satisfied. I feel light. I don't have the heaviness of all the food, right? The dense thing. And water does it. And so I have one big meal a day. You know, I have a snack and all that, but one big meal a day is enough for me. Around 3-4 o'clock, and it's water. So these are our tips that may seem, you know, insignificant, but it makes all the difference for January, February. I'll tell you that.
So staying healthy, keeping your immune system high. These are things that we can control.
Yeah, and avoiding situations of conflict. I know there's some situations that we can't avoid, but when you have that choice to step away, do it. There's no reason to get involved and just add your energy that you could be using for other things. You're giving your energy to what? To discussing something that even there's different perspectives about it. So this is about conserving your energy, conserving your time, because we're preparing for new leadership. And this means you and I too. So this is what I've been doing a lot, is I've just been staying at home and meditating and planning for 2021 and how can I upgrade all of my astrology work. And we need upgrades everywhere in the system, everywhere. So that's the best thing you can do with your time.
And that's, you know, and that's rightly said, because intuitively it's like, you know, also through the weather, like we are in cold Canada, there's snow outside. You can go for a walk, but you can't go for a walk for more than an hour, which is the same for skiing and, you know, like activities and everything. So conserving your energy,
that's a big one.
That's a big one. And I want everybody
taking responsibility as a creator, because this is what we're learning now. We're learning how to be responsible creators. We have always been creators, but it's just another stage of creation. That's why we're going to see technology and new educational systems coming in. Like there's going to be a lot of new developments coming in from this point forward. But that's only because we are learning how to take responsibility. We're starting with these little things. And so taking responsibility for the people you hang out with, the activities you choose to do, the foods you put in your body, which are like basic principles, but make all the difference in your life, are going to enable you to start seeing more, being more, expressing more. We all want to be happy, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah. And you know, the solution that you're suggesting, it's so simple, right? Conserve your energy, hydrate yourself, drink good water, filter your water, because, you know, the water that the city provides us, it's got fluoride in it. So you want to avoid that. Eat healthy food, meditate, silence and stillness, as Charlie Freak mentioned. So, you know, this is what it's all about. It's about going within, taking responsibility. And we talk about this at Sexy Brilliant too, that, you know, when I talk to people, I see leaders everywhere. Because there's the self-leadership. When we're responsible, we take leadership for our own decisions, our own choices. We then make an impact outside as well.
Exactly. And this is the time where new inventions, new innovative solutions are going to be coming in. And how are we going to bring in the new solutions if we are cluttered and clouded with old ways of doing things? we're cluttering our mind, we're cluttering our body, we're distracting ourselves. No, now we have consciously, collectively chosen to liberate ourselves from these distractions so that we can be more. But in order to be more, we need to first see more. So this is where a lot of the revealing is happening now, and we're seeing more. And so this is about remembering that this is not just an external revealing, but it's mainly the internal one. So how can I be better, and how can I show up to life as a parent, as a teacher, as a co-creator in this society? You know, and you'd be surprised at how many little choices we can do to help with that. So don't be scared with all the revealing that's going to happen or that's already happening, all these hidden truths that are coming out, even within the spiritual, a lot of spiritual communities too. You know, there's a lot of energies that are being changed right now, and it's all about taking this is all about the you know, I said coming down from the pedestal. So this is all, we're all one. And this is why we are appreciating the beauty of the unity factor and the brotherhood and the community and the power that we have in that. So it's okay to watch big leaders or big, you know, come undone. It's okay. It's just part of the transition. Let's keep our eyes on moving forward. 2021 is marked by Saturn and Jupiter that are going to be in a square with each other. And that's the most significant and challenging aspect we have. It's very, very different than 2020, but this is paving the way for 2021 to be a year of social revolution. So a lot of people are going to be stepping up with truths, with perspectives, with solutions. We're going to see a lot of that, you know. So this is, again, also about staying here, because there's going to be a lot of voices coming in. And now this is not about repeating the same mistakes. This is not about being confused or being deceived or, you know, all of that. This is about getting our inner guidance from the heart, right? So it's a very delicate space here, because there's going to be a lot of people coming up and trying to give solutions and ideas. And these are the leaders that are venturing out. It's part of the process. However, there are going to be many different truths out there. And 2021 is a year where we have a recycling of our belief systems, of our truths. The Sagittarius South Node is bringing that this year. So this is where we can feel disillusioned, disappointed with a lot of things that we have considered to be our truths up until now, whether they have been based on religion or even some sort of spirituality. I've been having concepts of my own spiritual perceptions turn upside down, and have to be okay with it, because I understand that I'm transforming. So it's not about that was bad and wrong, but wow, it's humbling to see that we never know nothing. It served a purpose, and now we are ready for more.
Yeah. And you know what? And what you mentioned is so true, because I found myself questioning Sexy Brilliant as well. I mean, and we are a registered nonprofit foundation. And I was like, am I doing the right thing? Am I, you know, is this what I want to do? And then I was like, I call my therapist, I call my coach. And of course, you know, I was like, but this is what it is. We always have to look within when these emotions come up, when these feelings come up, pay attention to it, sit with it, but work through them. Because unless we unlearn these negative thought forms that come up, you know, we can't get over it, right? So, Raquel, thank you so much. Let's start with a question. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So we have a question from Kay, and she says, what's the best way and simple way to start with astrology and incorporate it in our lives?
Oh my gosh. Wow. You know, it depends on how deep you want to go. There are certain astrologers, for example, that just work with the moon, for example, you know, and they follow the rhythms of the moon. And this is more of a feminine approach, a more intuitive. It really depends what you're looking for. I teach astrology from A to Z. So this means all the way from the beginning to even understand what the functions of the planets are and so forth. And we go straight into all the concepts of astrology, but it just depends on what you're looking for. I don't really recommend the mainstream, oh, if you're a Sagittarius sun, this is what's going to happen in your week, like I said before, just because it doesn't really work like that. So that method can confuse you a little more than help you. And even, for example, Mercury retrogrades, they have this like, oh my God, Mercury's retrograde. And yeah, Mercury retrograde does have a very palpable reflection here in our affairs, in the same way the moon does, not in everybody together, but it does have. But Mercury retrograde is just a little part of a bigger cycle of communication and creation and expression. So understanding these things, it takes you out of the box of like, oh my God, it's a Mercury retrograde and everything's going to go wrong. And you're just, now you know what part of the cycle you're in. So now you know if you pull back or if you review and all of that. So, my recommendation really is to start, if you really want to understand astrology, start from the beginning. So you can have a better idea. But if you just want to follow, what's happening in the sky, there's a lot of wonderful astrologers out there that are starting to take on more of a soul level approach to bringing astrological, messages. So I would recommend to follow those more than the mainstream, putting people in categories. I mean, all you have to do is go out in your neighborhood and get all the Sagittarius suns together and ask them if they had the same week. They're going to, it doesn't work like that. You don't group people into 12 compartments,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And Raquel, I read somewhere that, or maybe I heard it, that so let's say two people are born on the 3rd of January, the same year, let's say 1980. Yeah. The same time, even twins, this happens with twins as well. So twins born in the same time period, their natal charts are different. Right?
Not all of them, but yes, because the thing with the astrological chart is that because the chart is a division of time and space, basically. It's very mathematical, and I'm not going to get complicated here, but I will tell you that the ascendant or the rising, this will change from location to location, because this is based on these mathematical convergence points here. So, and the moon moves very fast too. So these two aspects, they can change in a matter of minutes. So that's why you can guess twins, and depending on how far apart they were born together, you can get one twin with one ascendant and one moon, and then have the other twin come out with a different ascendant and a different moon, which would completely change. The ascendant point is your path that you're here to follow. So if you get one person with one path and another, even if it's a twin, it's going to be a different path. And the moon as well. The moon describes our nature, our emotional nature. These are our longings and our cravings and the things that we need and want in order to feel safe and secure and happy, so that our sun can shine and we can follow our path. So the moon is very important. So these things, they can change in a matter of minutes. And especially if you're in a different location, which would be the case of two people being born on the same day at the same time, but having a different chart. So they're going to have very similar configurations, because the sun won't change. The sun only moves 1 degree per day. Most of the planets are not going to change, but the context, the houses they're in, that's going to change. So it does add elements of similarity, but it also is its own distinct fingerprint.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I never thought that, because I'm born in India, but if somebody's born in, let's say, Arizona, Sedona, like you are, so they're going to, same date, but they're going to have different charts?
Absolutely. And, part of my work is helping people. Like, as a matter of fact, I was just also talking about this in my class, that I was just helping someone find a location for their birthday. We call it a solar return. The sun once a year returns to the exact same place as it was in the sky when you were born. And that creates a chart for 1 year for you. And you can find locations in the world that are going to set your chart. You can't change everything. You can't change the alignments. Like Mars is still going to be where he's going to be. You can't change that. This is where it's very humbling. Like astrology is like, okay, there's bigger cycles at play, but you can choose little nuances of how and where those are going to be expressed in your year to come based on the location you're at, because the location you're at is going to give you a different ascendant and change the houses, the structure of where the planets are laid out in your chart. So this, I've been traveling purposely, I've been calling it traveling consciously, following my planetary lines, activating my planetary lines, and working with this for a few years now, and have been helping people also find that. So yeah, there you can definitely step up your game as a creator with astrology. Many little secrets for sure.
Thank you, Raquel. And I'm going to have this next question. I have Jupiter at 0 degrees in my Aquarius and Saturn at 28 degrees. Capricorn rising.
Wow.
Is this making some changes? Go ahead, Raquel.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, again, I am so like intricate with things, and I like to really look at the chart to know what I'm looking at here. But just that little bit, I mean, some things that you're going to mention are not that significant unless I look at the chart, but that's really significant because 0 Aquarius is, what's the name of this person?
It's Robert Bowman.
Robert, are you a part of my group, honey? That name sounds familiar. I think you're part of my community. Robert, my dear, what a powerful time for you. This is incredible in so many ways. Honey, you are at the cusp of some great, great things. First of all, the 0 degrees Aquarius is the hot spot right now at the moment. And it's actually going to be for some time. I mean, that was a powerful landmark right there. But because he has his Jupiter there, this just marked for him the beginning of a new 12-year cycle in your personal, social, and financial affairs. So every time we have this, we call a Jupiter return. Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the zodiac and come back to where it was in our chart when we were born. So not only did Jupiter do that for you just now, which is a big deal, when Jupiter does that for anybody, every 12 years we go through that, it gives us a reset in our ability to create within society. This is a very down-to-earth, create, make money, expansion. What do I do for work? And you just started a new cycle. So up until now, things were coming undone for you. From this point on, it's new beginnings. Not only you had this happen to you, new 12-year cycle growth, but you had it together with the conjunction for the world. This is huge. Wow. This is huge. I light up when I talk about these things.
Thank you, Raquel. And we have people from all different levels of astrology, and that's what it's all about. It's about for every question that's answered, there are another 1,000 questions that we have unanswered.
I know.
Right?
This is why we could be here forever.
Yeah, we're going to be here forever. So let's go to this question. What does water sign mean for this year? Thank you.
Okay, so this is one of those questions that is very broad in general.
Yeah.
We don't have anything specific happen in the water signs, except for let's say from the last 10 degrees of the water signs are very much in focus, okay? And they're in focus a lot with the aspect of spirituality. Now, the reason for that is because Neptune is there right now in Pisces, also belongs to the group of water signs. So Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, these are very harmonious combinations right now with this aspect of spirit. So it depends on the rest of the configurations in your chart. Maybe it's just an experience you're having. Maybe it's something you're getting ready to share with the world. Maybe you're having some very powerful dreams or states of awarenesses or experiences. And the water signs is a lot where the spiritual factors are coming from. So I can tell you right now that that's a lot of your participation and contribution. But again, it depends on the rest of the chart. There's also Pluto over there who is aspecting that and creating this dynamic with the Scorpio energy. Was it Scorpio that you said? Of the water signs, I think it was. That is creating a very powerful dynamic of transformation, but it's opportunities here. This is very good. These transformation for the Scorpio, especially the last 10 degrees of Scorpio here, there are powerful transformations from spirit. That means receiving new gifts, embodying new gifts, being that to others. Oh,
That was
okay. There you go.
That was a great question. Thank you, Janine or Janie Ann Wilson. We appreciate that. And then we have a last question, and this is from Anonymous, and they say, my Venus is at 0 degrees Sagittarius. What does that mean?
Let's see what can be said about the fire signs. Let's see.
Yeah. And and hold on. Moon is no, my ascendant is at Cancer.
Okay, yeah, that already adds a lot more to the picture, because Cancer is the sign, for the not 2020, 2019 especially. There was a big focus on Cancer for the aspect of soul and spirit that was focusing in the sign of Cancer. Now it's in the sign of Gemini, and that's why we have the leadership, we have the community for the world. But before that, it was Cancer. And so there was a big focus on the feminine energy rising, the matriarchy, as I call it, which is the authority and the leadership of the feminine. And this doesn't only belong to women. I'm not talking about biology, but this is a different way of operating, which is bringing balance right now to society. So this is where the soul, the greater aspect of soul and spirit was pointing to. So if you have a Cancer rising, an ascendant, there was a big focus on you. And, this is really what is your level of responsibility with these feminine energies? Very powerful time for you, 2019 especially. But the other was the fire signs. I will tell you that the fire signs right now, what was really good for you were the last 2 new moons that we had in Scorpio and Sagittarius. These over here were bringing a highlight for the people with early fire placements in the early degrees. Now, this over here is incorporating a lot of the healing in the context of relationships. So Chiron just stationed direct. We had a Chiron station direct last month, and that released a huge flow of energy for healing to take place. So this is where a lot of either woundings come out in the open, but then the resolution as well, forgiveness, talking about it, a renewed sense of commitment with our partners, with our relationships. And maybe other people watching this are resonating with this too. And this means that you may have placements in the early degrees of the fire signs, which are Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo. These 3 signs, if you have anything, your Venus, your Sun, your Ascendant, your Mars, anything in these 3 placements in the beginning, the last month or so, it has been an acceleration of heart opening and healings. It's been very deep. And a lot of these heart openings are happening in ways that we wouldn't even consider heart openings, because there's some loss involved. For example, I have some close friends that are dealing with loved ones that are, battling cancer, last stages of cancer, and just a lot of things that are having these incredible heart openings that are coming in as a consequence. So there's different levels of these heart openings, but it's really powerful and pushing toward a resolution and a a healing to take place. Very beautiful, very powerful.
And thank you so much. And I'm going to ask everybody on who's watching, tuning in, and watching on the replay as well, to please share this video, to please kind of, allow us the space to, if this information has helped, and Raquel, by the way, is personally, I'm very grateful to Raquel's teachings. So make sure that you're passing it on, because that's how we spread the word, and that's how we pay it forward and change our energy. And we spoke about it earlier as well. How do we create better choices for ourselves? By sharing the work that we like. And this is new leadership, right, Raquel?
Yeah, in the same way that your viewers, they have come across at least one piece of information in here that has given them that little aha moment. And hey, okay, maybe I can pull through this day or this week. The same way you're having that experience, like we want our loved ones, our friends, and other people to have that experience too, and find their aha moments within the show and everywhere else too. So you're also helping, like you said, pay it forward. Right? Help others have that experience to find inner balance and soul clarity as well.
So lots of questions coming in, Raquel. How are you for time? And do you want to answer this last question?
Yes, time as in what?
Which doesn't exist.
Are you talking about like my sessions? Well, my private sessions, I'm actually booked until spring already. I'm usually booked a few months in advance, but I do have, if you go to my website, you're going to see an email there, info.raquelspring@gmail.com. And that email, it's on my website on the book your session page. That's going to go straight to my assistant. And I'm thinking of taking on an extra day a week now to start helping, because this is the time when like everybody wants help and everybody wants, right, to understand, gain that perspective and meaning. So I've been talking with my assistant of maybe possibly opening up another day so we can start to cater in the new ones that are coming in. So, don't be scared if you go on my website and it's like, nope, not doing it right now, not booking a session. Send an email if your situation, if you feel it's urgent and you really want that clarity, you can send an email and we'll figure out a way to get you in. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, and Raquel, you also teach astrology.
I teach astrology because I got to a point, Devina, that I said, oh my God, I can't, I'm always booked out. I'm always booked out at least 3-4 months in advance. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this the rest of my life. I'm like, I want to teach you how to do it, so you don't have to rely on me to tell you. So that's how it all began. And so I've been for over a year now with I call it the Astrology Mentorship Program, which is really a program where you receive mentoring. It's not just your cookbook. As you can tell, like, I'm passionate. I live and breathe this. There's a reason why I dreamt with this for a year and a half every night when I was learning this. And so, teaching astrology is my heart and soul. And so we have this mentoring process that we go through together. You can go at your own pace. You don't have to watch all the classes at once. And then we have the additional live classes for those that feel more comfortable venturing out and pairing and all of it. And my intention is to share everything I know with you without holding back, without like, okay, let's continue this prolonging so you can stay with me. No, I don't want you to stay with me for a long time, because I have the world to teach, and I want to learn and go and do it.
And that's the sign of a good mentor. They want to create other mentors.
Yeah.
They believe in universal abundance, and they're like, we have enough to share.
Yes. I'm training my students to become the ones that are going to be giving sessions. I want them to be leading sessions. Of course, through the eyes of the soul and really helping the people gain perspective. But yeah, I want to see you guys embrace this and carry on further.
Yeah. And Raquel, there is this last question that I want to address. It's from 𝐒𝐄𝐗𝐘. And
yes, my dear, I know you too.
Yeah. That's why. So they're in Scorpio rising, and Sun is in Aquarius, and the Sun is in the 4th house of Aquarius. Is there anything that they should be concerned about?
So again, it depends on the rest of the configurations of your chart, because just as we're having this huge conjunction, we're also having a lot of activity, for example, in the sign of Taurus, which is where it's all culminating in January, February. It's in Taurus, and Taurus is in a square aspect with, you know, with Scorpio, and I'm sorry, with here we have with Leo and Aquarius that we were talking about. So the placements in Aquarius are, you know, this transition is coming in with a bang for them, because we have simultaneously Taurus that's in a square, all the activity in there. But I want to tell you that with a sun in Aquarius, especially if it's in the early degrees, your sun is a part of this reset, introducing this turning of the new cycle into the world. And with the sun, this has something to do with your purpose, with your mission. Like, I was doing a session for a wonderful lady that has a sun in Aquarius, and she all her life she's been interested in like a brain technology and stuff like that, and not technology, like neuroscience. And so now she's starting to think about reviving those studies and taking it a step further, and actually start working with helping people heal through trauma and different things through this neuroscience system that she was studying before. And when I looked at her chart, I said, your mission and purpose with the Aquarius energy, it's innovation, it's technology. This is it. There's a reason why you're feeling that call again to start reviving those studies. And I said, and how about maybe taking it a step further now? What are people going to be looking for in a year from now? So with a sun in Aquarius, this is your responsibility, you know, because there is the squares from Taurus. That's intense, but you're birthing something here. It's here to be expressed through your sun. It's your mission and purpose. So It's a big moment.
Yeah. Raquel, and we're getting so many compliments from the audience.
Oh, thank you. I can't see any of them right now, but
yeah, I'm just going to read a few. You know, we really appreciate our audience, because that's why we do this again and again. Mm-hmm. And Sensing Intuition says, highly recommend the mentorship program that Raquel offers. It's helping me so much. So thank you so much for that.
Oh.
And then we have...
Thank you, my dear.
Yeah, we have Kate that says, thank you so much. What a great speaker and interviewer. Wow. We love that, guys. And guys, that's what it is. It's about each of us is a powerful energy source. And when we share our gifts with the world, we can then help heal the world. And that's what it's all about in our own unique way. And Raquel, we are coming to the end of the show. So we have I wrote these sexy, brilliant cards. And this is, you know, like, they're a little bit X-rated. So.
I didn't see that coming. Can you explain that to me?
So if we've got any kids here.
So what come again? What is the cards?
Message. Sorry, go ahead.
Are these questions or messages or what?
They're just cards. They're empowerment cards they're going to be very related. I mean, they're usually, when we pull cards, they're very related to the message and the theme that we talk about.
I love it.
I should have told you about this earlier, but...
Oh, it's okay. I love surprises.
So these are the Sexy Brilliant cards. You can find them on our nonprofit foundation, sexybrilliant.org.
Oh, love it.
Let's pull the cards, Raquel. How many cards? At least one.
At least one, yeah.
One. Okay, here we go. Let's see what message we get. I'm going to pull the card for you because it's going to be easier than... let's go. Okay. Here we are. Let's see what it says. It says, love and re-love. Wow. Can you see it on screen?
Oh, wow. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And this is so in alignment with what I was talking about, the heart openings that we're all having. Yeah, these new levels, these new experiences of heart opening and redefining our concept of love.
We are.
I've been having such powerful transformations with this. Like, wow, this is another humbling thing about life. Like, we are redefining our concept of love here. So, perfect card.
Yep. So it says love and re-love, and it says love is a sexy art. We are all deserving of love, care, and acceptance, and a sense of belonging. Promise to give love second chances and the opportunities to flourish. Make self-kindness a top priority. There is growth in love. We are all worthy of love. Wow.
Beautiful. And let's remember that the truest form of love begins with self-love. And this is why, like, making the choices that are in alignment with that, and even being kind and gentle to ourselves, really, like, there are many levels and layers of being kind and gentle to yourself. And a big one is choosing the people, places, things, foods that are in alignment with where you want to go, what you want to express. So these are all different degrees of self-love, which then get translated into outward love. We can only love the world to the degree that we love ourselves. And I always say that true giving can only come from a place of overflowing. So let's overflow with that internal love so that we can truly then go out there and love others, love our families, our neighbors, world.
What a beautiful message, Raquel.
I love that.
We're so grateful. Love and re-love. Wow.
Love and re-love. I feel all the heart openings right now happening as we are concluding this.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's here. I want to give you guys a hug, a group hug, a virtual hug, because I'm feeling your energy, and Raquel is feeling it too. So
I'm feeling your energy. I'm feeling you guys all hugging me.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, for tuning in. My name is Devina Kaur, and I am the author of a book called Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. And this book it's a spiritual self-help workbook, Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. If it speaks to you, please check it out on Amazon as well as on our website, sexybrilliant.org. We are a registered nonprofit foundation to remove toxic shame and raise human consciousness. And today I'm just so grateful to start this year off on such a wonderful note with Raquel Spring. So thank you, Raquel. And to everybody who's here, I want to ask you guys something. Did you like this interview? Yes, no, maybe. Whatever your feedback is, let us know, because that's how we get better. And also, if you like this interview, what do you think about the idea of Raquel coming back regularly? We want to hear from you. Raquel wants to hear from you.
The astrology updates, right? Yes, I would love to be back to be.
I love astrology. I believe in it. I follow it. And Raquel, it would be such an honor to just share space with you again and do this as and when we can. So I want to know from our audience as well.
Yeah, that would be great. My thing is not about pointing out good or bad or this or that. It's just about giving meaning and perspective and letting everybody make choices based on that. I'm here just to inspire and be the cheerleader for the new leaders, the heart openings, and the evolutionary process that we're going through.
And we are going through one. It's a big one.
Yeah, big one.
Stay strong for the next 2 months, January, February. Big months, big energy. But we're going to be doing more interviews with lots of people we've got Charlie Freak coming up. We've got Mark Atwood coming up. Next week, we've got Jen McCarty coming. She's going to be talking about Twin Flame reunion. So please check that out as well. And once again, please reach out to Raquel, connect with her on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube as well. And her website is raquelspring.com. I've also dropped the show notes about Raquel's YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Please check that out as well. Follow her. Let her know if you like this. Reach out to her. Connect with us. We want to know from you guys. We want to hear from you. Raquel, any last messages before we sign off?
Yes, keep the greater perspective. Your life is not just about today. Okay, There is so much more happening, and it's okay to see more. It's okay. These are growing pains. We are birthing a new cycle, and it's normal to have pains. It's together with the pain that we have the contrast, and we're able to learn about ourselves and grow. So that's where we're at now. We don't have to be scared of it. These are the moments where they're going to be writing the new history books in the future. It's going to be about us. So let's continue paving the way. We have a lot of support systems out there helping us navigate this transition. So we're doing this together, as I always say.
We really are, and so many messages again from the live show. Aiton says, please make Raquel appear regularly, and we would love to see her. And then we have Sensing Intuition that is saying, yes, have Raquel back. She is a brilliant teacher. So just a lot of messages.
My loves. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna try our best to do this again and again, and we wanna do this as a community. So we're so grateful that you're here.
Thank
and
you.
Guys, make sure that you are signing up for RaquelSpring.com, her website, and her newsletter, as well as sexybrilliant.org on our newsletter as well. So thank you so much, Raquel. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.